Boomer here. I thought I would take a moment and do another kind of a review on the Silverwing, and I would show you some of the things that I've done to her. I have made some changes to her, changes for the better. So I'll swing around, don't get dizzy, and there's Bertha, our Silverwing, 1982 Honda gl500 Silverwing Interstate. Now, if you're wondering why we call her Bertha, boy, this wind is really blowing out here. The audio's okay. Our first bike that Princess and I had was a 1982 Honda CB450 Nighthawk. We rode on it two-up. It's really not meant for two-up riding, at least not for any length of time. And there's a football game going on here at the school, so if you hear any cheers, that's what that is. They're not cheering for me. Not yet. Anyway, yeah, I'll put some pictures up here. The 1982 Honda, actually, our daughters bought that bike for me. And it was a rattle can blue. All the graphics were gone, and basically I restored it, repainted, put the graphics on, recovered the seats. I did so much to that bike. But it really wasn't big enough for Lori and I. So we found this Silverwing. Now, I was kind of torn between a Silverwing and a Goldwing, and I kind of tested both. We have a Goldwing now, but we bought this Silverwing. And the reason that we named her Bertha was because she's big enough for both of our butts. Now, if you're old enough, you remember that song. She was one of the Butt sisters, Bertha Butt. Anyway, that's why we named her Bertha. Now, if you've seen the other video that I did on this Silverwing, and I'll put a link below. In fact, I'll put a link also to the video I did on the Nighthawk. But you can see that there have been some changes. Some of the things that we did when we first got this bike had to be done. Of course, new tires. Remember, there were battle axes on it. These are Dunlop D404s. I would really not recommend that on a heavier bike like a Goldwing. We had a Dunlop D404 on our Goldwing, and we got one season out of the rear tire. So we went with the Bridgestone Cedra Touring tire, and that's been working out great. But new tires, rebuilt the forks. I didn't rebuild the forks, but I paid to have that done. Our mechanic, Mike's motorcycle up in Flint, great guy, old school Honda mechanic. He rebuilt the forks on this. However, when it came time to do the steering head bearings, he shied away from that, which left me to do it. And you can see here a photo of what the bike looked like once we tore it down to redo the steering head bearings. And I put all balls, tapered roller bearings, and this bike with the forks rebuilt, the new tires, and those bearings in there, head bearings, it just rides like brand spanking new. In fact, this, in my opinion, is one of the best commuter bikes out there, getting upwards of 50 miles per gallon. You've got the side cases, the top case for storage. She's really not meant to do long distance on the expressway at highway speeds. You have to remember that when this bike was made, the speed limit nationally was 55 miles per hour. She is perfectly at home at 55 miles per hour. She will do 70, she'll do 75, and I've had her. But it gets kind of buzzy. But it's not that bad, because if you notice, the red line on this is, what, 9,700 is the red line? So when you're doing 70 on the expressway and she's closing in on 7,000 RPM, yeah, it gets buzzy, but she'll do it. And she's not unhappy about it either. But if you can handle the buzziness, go for it. That's why we have the Goldwing. But some of the other things that I've done, goodness, we rebuilt the front calipers. I replaced the front master cylinder because the one that was on there was really, really spongy, and I was going to rebuild it, but it wasn't original to the bike. he gave me a box that had the old master cylinder in it. He said, no reason to doubt that it wasn't, but I didn't know for sure. And I found out that you could get a master cylinder from just about any Honda of that period that had dual front calipers. And the Interstate has dual front calipers. So if memory serves me, this master cylinder came off of a 750. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, recently though, some of the things that we've done, I recovered the seats. Now I was going to repaint and do something with, of course, the seats, the fringe. You can see the fringe. I replaced the passenger pegs with floorboards for Princess, fringe around those. I was going for a certain look. You might say Indian, and that's fine. Indians are beautiful bikes, and that's kind of the look I was going for. But Princess really liked the red color, and she said that the seats, and that color was called butterscotch, kind of matched the pinstripe in the bike. You can see that. Let me go around to the other side where the sun is shining a little bit better, and you can see the pinstripe. So Princess kind of thought, you know, that kind of matches, it looks good, and she really liked the red, so decided to leave it red. I think it does need to be repainted at some point, new pinstriping, because it's not a new bike and it's not show quality. I do put this bike in bike shows, and I'll post a couple of photos of Bertha in bike shows, but never won anything. But people do gather around, people do love this bike. I get a lot of comments about Bertha. It's a unique bike, it really is. The Baby Goldwing, it's called. So some of the other things that we've recently done are the case guards here on the side there. Now, I do not call them crash guards. I call them engine guards and case guards, not crash guards. But I found a guy parting out of Silverwing, and he had these case guards. So I bought those and put those on Bertha. And it makes it a whole lot easier to get on the center stand, because I can grab it right here and lift up. Without that, before you had to kind of like stick your hand down in here and grab hold and lift up, and that was kind of awkward. So it makes it easier to get on the center stand, and I still use the center stand. Now I did another video where I showed about the side stand fix for the excessive lean on these bikes, and if you remember, the side stand has all of this lateral play in it, and when you put the bike on the center stand, the Silverwing, it really leans quite a bit, and the through hole on that side stand where the pivot bolt goes tends to wobble out of round. So I came across a fix for that, and I did a video on that fix. I'll put a link to that as well. But I gotta be honest, I was less than pleased with how it turned out. At first I thought it was going to work out well, and it is better, but it's not what I thought it would be. So still on the center stand, which is, yeah, it's good. I don't mind that at all. But we've we've changed the seat covers, we put the fringe on, we put the floorboards on. Something I recently did, and I have another video, and by golly, I'll put a link to that as well, is right here, see from the shadows, I hope, this right here does a couple of things. It tells you the air pressure in your front and rear tire, tells you the tire temperature, and it's also a voltmeter. Now when I initially installed it, the rear tire pressure was wrong and the volts were wrong. After riding it for a bit, the tire pressure reset, and now that's fine. I still think the volts are reading a little bit high, because I'm at 14.3, 14.5 at the battery, and I'm showing over 15 here on this voltmeter. So it's wrong. I contacted the seller, it's off of eBay, and I got a reply to basically read the instructions. Thanks for nothing. But those are some of the updates that I've done for Bertha. The seat covers, the fringe, kept the paint, the case guards. Oh, one other thing. Let me come around here and show you. I put a helmet lock here. And I was going to get one for the other side, and I still might, but I think that's a nice touch because the helmet lock that is on this bike, gosh, if you can see it, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but it's right here. Can you see it? Right here? That's your helmet lock when the side case is not on. If the side case is on, you really cannot access the helmet lock. So I put this one on, so I think that's going to be a nice touch. Secure the helmet, because a full face helmet will not fit in that top case. It's just a little bit too big. There's Old Glory stuck to the back. So those are some of the updates I've done to Bertha. We've got this Ram knockoff for the phone mount, and this is really nice. I really like that one. I have one on each one of my bikes. And that's really about it. The starter right there, I painted that to match the bike. Figure that was a nice touch. And I'm thinking that's about it. Oh, I did put this retro emblem on the front fender. I thought that was pretty cool. I like that. Vintage 1982. Oh, the other thing that we've done were the highway pegs. Now, initially it had highway pegs that came straight out from the engine guard here. And that was kind of cramped, and these were kind of up in the air, but we got these to drop down several inches. And man, what a difference that made. It's a pleasure to ride with these highway pegs. So that's another change that we've made. Polished up the front forks, both sides, polished up the clutch cover right here. There's more work to be done. There's always more work to be done. But then anyway, and I just rebuilt the petcock because I lost every drop of gas out of that gas tank because dummy me, I didn't turn it off like you're supposed to. And I've never had a problem as long as I've owned the bike until I had a problem. So I rebuilt the petcock. But that really is about it. Let me know what you think about the color combination. How does the butterscotch work with the red? And I know fringe is, I've gotten good and bad. One guy says, I never understood why people put fringe on their motorcycle. It's retro, it really is. And I heard one lady, she was a lady rider, had fringe on her Harley, and she said the fringe helps to create movement. You see the fringe moving around, especially when you're riding, which makes it a safety feature. People will notice you. That makes sense. You know, we're all about safety, right? See and be seen. So that's about it. Oh, I did put, if you can see it, I put these feathers and medallions on here. Unfortunately, when I put the case guards on, it kind of covered them up. I have one on the other side as well. Right here. Again, thinking that was a nice touch, and it is, but it got covered up by the case guard here. So there's Bertha. Bertha's doing well, and again, in my opinion, this is one of the greatest commuter bikes ever made. Comfortable, plenty of storage, handles 2 up without a problem whatsoever. Now, some people say they tend to be a little bit top heavy, and granted, more so than the Goldwing, because remember, the Goldwing has a flat 4. This is a V-twin, 80-degree horizontally opposed V-twin, not a flat 4, so the engine weight is lower on the bike. And also, on a Goldwing, the gas tank is actually under the seat. What you think is the gas tank is actually called a shelter or doghouse, and when you open it, the fill for the gas is under there, but it runs down under the seat, so the weight is lower on a Goldwing. It makes a Goldwing, it's a heavy bike, but it makes it just a pleasure to ride because it wants to ride itself. So yeah, compared to a Goldwing, yeah, this would be a little bit top heavy. But honestly, I have not had any issues with this bike at all. If your tires are good, the suspension is good. This has got a monoshock in the rear, Pro-Link monoshock. I've replaced that because the old one wasn't holding air. What a job that was. But she's holding air now. So if your suspension and tires are in good shape, I'm going to tell you, this bike just throws herself right into the corners, and she rides like a dream. Revs high, you know, it's a 500 cc engine, so it's not going to be, you know, your 1200 Goldwing, 1500 Goldwing, 1800 Vaquero, and you know, all that kind of stuff. It's a 500 cc touring bike, but she does really good for being a 500 cc touring bike. In fact, one of the advertisements for Honda for the Goldwing said the first mid-sized tourer for a full-sized country. And I have no doubt. In fact, who was it? Shade Tree Mechanic. And Shay Lisi just did a cross-country on Honda Silverwings. Now, granted, they were gl500s, which is a little bit better, but Shade Tree Mechanic did one earlier, was it this year or last year, across country on a gl500, and I believe he gave that bike away just like he's giving away these two 650s that he has. So it is eminently capable of going cross country, and when he had the gl500, I mean, he was on these roads heading through the deserts in Nevada, Arizona, coming from California. He had the thing pegged at 80 miles an hour. And yeah, it got really buzzy, but it did it. And it got him all the way back to Florida from California. Not an issue. I also added the mud flap right here. Boom, right there. The Honda mud flap. So there are a few touches here and there. You can see here on the rear tire right there, the big cap. That is on the front and the rear. Let me show you the front as well. Right here. So these big caps here actually have the Bluetooth sensors that go up to this right here that shows you your tire pressure. And they have little batteries inside that are easily replaced. And the sensor on the display up here will tell you how much life is in your batteries. So I'm thinking when we winterize her, we're going to take these off and take them inside, because the deep freeze is no friend to batteries. So there's Bertha. Again, let me know in the comments what you think about the color combo. And if I can, I'll post a photo of what I was thinking of when I was doing the fringe and the seat color. You know, the two-tone Indians is kind of what I was looking for, even though this is not an Indian, but that's what I was looking for, because I really like this bike, but I really like that color combination on the Indians. But Princess was right, red looks good, and at some point all the plastics are coming off and she will be repainted. And this bike has a little bit of metal flake in it. I may put a little bit more in it, I don't know. We shall see. There's Bertha. Any questions? Post in the comments. Any observations? Post in the comments. Let me swing around here. Excuse my hand, excuse my face. But there's Bertha. I just wanted to give you an update on Bertha. I'm out riding her right now, and she is a pure joy to ride. Again, wonderful commuter bike. If you can come across a gl500, gl650, and they're reasonably priced, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it. These, like the gl500, they actually made turbocharged versions of the gl500. And if it will handle a turbocharger, that's a tough motor. And they're practically indestructible. Not maintenance free. You have to adjust the valves on later Hondas. Like I know the gl1000, gl1100 Goldwings, you had to adjust the valves, and then when you get to the gl1200, you didn't have to adjust the valves, they were hydraulic. But you do have to adjust the valves. The cam chain needs adjustment. So there is some periodic maintenance that you have to do on this bike, but eminently indestructible. So if you come across a gl500, gl650, and you're looking for a commuter bike and it's in decent shape, I would not hesitate 1 minute. Really the only problem inherent with these bikes is the seal where the water pump is. It tends to leak, and to do it, the way the book tells you, you have to pull the motor, and break it in half to get to that. But there is a way called the Shep method where you do not have to do that. You can do it with the motor and the bike. And if I ever get to that point, that's what I plan to do, and you can replace the seal and you're good as new. Anyway, that's about all I have for right now. I'll swing around one more time. Don't get dizzy. There's Bertha. Bertha says hello. Bertha says goodbye. Until next time. Bye for now.